So here we are to talk about Batman Returns 1992, directed again by Tim Burton, written by Daniel Waters and Sam Hamm, starring Michael Keaton, Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito, Christopher Walken, and probably a bunch of other people that I'm going to be told about at a later point, because I'm joined once again by Batman superfan, in fact, DC superfan overall, probably, James Earnshaw. How you doing, sir?
I'm all right, thanks. Yeah.
So yeah, you're probably going to tell me a bunch of other people who were in it like last time, because I only think of like the 4 top ones, but then you're like, but this guy. I mean, I know Paul Rubens, Vincent Schiavelli.
Yeah.
You know,
Danny Elfman.
Other big people. Yes, technically, Doug Jones.
Just for a tiny moment. But yeah.
And,
okay.
Tim Burton's voice.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
But no, this was weird for me because I don't remember loving this film as much as the first one.
Yeah, so, I think I agreed. Yeah.
It's always been a bit of a, there's that one. I mean, it's not the next two. It's not that bad, of course, but...
No, obviously not.
But this was always that one of kind of like, I suppose I'll watch it. And there's moments. This is more of a film of moments that I enjoy, I think, more than like the overall thing. The last third just is completely insane.
Yeah, okay, I'll agree with that.
I think that almost redeems it, though, the fact that it's so insane, because Tim Burton preferred this to the original, and you can tell.
It's because he had more creative control because he demanded it. It's the only reason it's the only reason they got him to make it.
And, of course, he negotiated Keaton to make sure that he got a decent chunk more as well, because that's the only reason he'd have done it as well, and it's why I dropped out of the next one.
Was it 11 million he got for this?
I think something like that.
Yeah.
It's definitely more than I've earned for one piece of work in my life, or for, in fact, all of my pieces of work throughout my life. This was fun to watch again, and like with the last one, it's freeform. It's not going to be in any real sense of order. It's fun. We're just here to talk. We're here to nerd about something, and brilliantly, we've timed it so that it's actually releasing on Christmas Day, which I think is amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is
a Christmas film.
My Christmas film. It's the Christmas film that I go to because it's Batman related. And having watched it early in December was a bit weird for me this year.
We had to obviously watch it so we could prepare ahead of the time, because obviously we're not doing this on Christmas Day. We've got lives.
Let's start with the setup of this film. So we've already mentioned that Tim Burton had to have complete creative control. So whilst he was making this, Nightmare Before Christmas was also being made at the same time, but in a different part of the world, technically. And he was kind of bouncing between the two, as was, I think, the art director. He was doing both films as well. I was watching something about The Nightmare Before Christmas, and they were saying that this guy was in charge of the art direction of Batman Returns whilst making Nightmare Before Christmas. So they were bouncing around all over the shop.
Okay.
So, but so you've got that going on. You've got at least half of the Warner Brothers backlot turned into Gotham City. The movable sets as well. So they could be transferred around, so they could just change one street by moving 3 things or something, you know. You've got Michael Keaton cast on Tim Burton's insistence, and you've got Annette Bening cast as Catwoman. Except she fell pregnant.
Yeah. Damn you, Warren.
So she left, and what a pity it was too. Shucks. Because they had to get in somebody else to do the role. And let's face it, Annette Bening would have been perfect. Nah. Okay, let's be honest. Michelle Pfeiffer was cast, and she was perfect for the role.
It's almost as bad as if Meryl Streep's been given it, but luckily, a bit dickishly in a way, you know, Burton's like, no, you're too old for the role, which is a bit awful, but again, she wouldn't have worked in it, I think, as well anyway. So.
No, I don't think anyone really could have done it as well as... I can't imagine anyone else doing it as well as Michelle Pfeiffer.
No.
And since then, I mean, we've had What's-Her-Face do it in those other films that I don't really talk about.
We've had Anne Hathaway do a version.
Yeah.
More Selena Kyle. And, of course, we had Halle Berry that we'll never speak of ever
again. The only other good version of Catwoman for me... I mean, a lot of people will say the 60s. You had at least 2 actresses playing her, and I can't remember what their names are. But
I want to say Lee Merriweather.
Maybe.
I think was the one, but obviously everyone knows the rhyming slang. The other one.
Yes, they were very good, but Michelle Pfeiffer beat the pants off them. But the only other good one was in Gotham.
Yes,
Selena Kyle in
Nova. Yeah.
I thought she was.
Nova.
Mind you, let's face it, she was a mini Michelle Pfeiffer. So
even the hairstyling, I realised watching this, I was like, oh no, you did, didn't you?
Yeah.
The fact that they borrowed the idea of Paul Rubens being the Penguin's dad as well. Gotham clearly took a lot from this.
Yes. I mean, originally they were going to get the guy that played the Penguin in the Adam West Batman.
Yeah, Burgess Meredith.
But he was ill. So he was too old and ill to do it. And so they got Pee Wee Herman.
Before his whole incident.
Yeah. We won't go into that. No. So yes, you've got it all set up, and they've got the cast finally. They've got Danny DeVito on board, having gone through various other people. They've even got Marlon Wayans queued up to play a character that never appeared in the film because he got cut.
Yes, although I believe there was a lot of work done towards it, which is a bit of a shame,
including a costume. They also originally had Billy D. Williams.
He was going to be what became Christopher Walken's character of Max Schreck, wasn't he? He was going to fill that role. The electrocution at the end was going to be his transformation to Two-Face.
Max Schreck, obviously. The name was taken from Nosferatu, the old black and white silent movie. The actor that played, what was it, Count
Orloff?
Orloff, I think that's right.
Feels right to me.
Yeah,
I've watched What We Do in the Shadows recently.
No,
so
hang on.
Yeah.
No. What are the bad guys in the creatures that live under the ground in the time machine?
Morlock.
That's it, Orlok. It was Count Orlok.
Count Orlok.
That's how I remembered it. Morlocks.
Yes, because my brain, I think my brain combined that with Boris Karloff, so I got Orloff.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, we're old, so it's all set to go. They've got Danny Elfman back on. Something I didn't realise about Danny Elfman was that he'd never written a film score before he did. I think it was the first Batman, wasn't it? Or was it Beetlejuice?
I thought there was some. No, it might have been a few years later.
Oh no, it was Nightmare Before Christmas. He started working on that. That was the first thing. No, that was the first musical he'd ever done.
First musical, right? Okay.
So, but he wasn't really an orchestrator. He was Oingo Boingo, wasn't he? So
he was a pop musician. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm finding similarities with my life.
Yeah.
Seeing that
you started doing like music in a very normal bandy setting and found yourself doing certain scores down the line. And orchestrating things further down the line than that.
Oh, good God, don't.
Interestingly, with talking about Danny Elfman, I didn't realise until you said it actually that Nightmare was being done at the same time. Because I only noticed this time around there's elements of Making Christmas and Poor Jack that appear constantly throughout the score.
My other half was constantly talking about this during the start of the film, and I couldn't hear her because she was on the other side of the room. And then I noticed the dun 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 dun, the kind of the Penguins music. Technically, I suppose it is. And it's Making Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, the Poor Jack bit came in when he was talking to Shrek when he first takes him and sort of discusses the plan. There's that kind of do 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 kind of thing. Like, oh no! But now it makes a lot of sense. He was doing both at the same time.
Sean Young really wanted to play Catwoman, so much so that she turned up in a homemade Catwoman costume to audition.
That's commitment.
But no, didn't get it. Raquel Welch, Madonna, Cher, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and Bridget Fonda were all up for the role. They were in contention for it anyway. But Michelle Pfeiffer got it, and we're not displeased with that in any way, shape, or form. I can't consider any of those as working very well in it.
No, I was going to say, like, sort of what we were thinking of before, like no one else would have fit. Every name you were given, I was like trying to transpose the costume, if you will, over. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
No, I can't see it working with anyone else. No. I think they nailed it when they got Michelle Pfeiffer in.
And there's so many moments during the film when she seems to be enjoying herself, and even if she wasn't, the fact that she makes it seem like she's having a good time doing it is what's important. And I don't know if any of the others would have been able to deal with the uncomfortability of the suit because she was basically vacuum sealed in.
She was, which meant she could only film short bits before she passed out.
Yeah,
which
was
basically
small segments at a time.
Yeah.
She's such a trooper. Apparently, she's still not too bad with the whip. She has got rusty over the years.
Yeah, she has.
She did years ago.
She
But
did some
found it
videos
again
not long ago of her in the backyard messing with it because she found it when she moved. Yeah, I know.
So she clearly enjoyed it.
Yeah. So on to the Penguin. It could have been Marlon Brando. Apparently, I can't see it. Or John Candy as the Penguin. Yeah, Bob Hoskins.
He's got the cockneyness that they've done for the Arkham games. That would work.
Yeah, that might work. Dean Martin.
Oh, no.
Christopher Lloyd. Really, no. As much as I love Christopher Lloyd, not a Penguin. He'd have been good as Max Schreck.
He's an aged Riddler.
Ooh.
As a villain.
Like
as
that.
an established villain.
Yes, okay.
He's an older Riddler.
Yeah, if they were going to do a Batman Beyond, he could play an old Riddler in that kind of thing. Yeah, that'd work quite well. However, they went with Danny DeVito. Oh, apparently Dustin Hoffman could have been in there as well. Forgot about that one. They've gone through a few rewrites by this point, and they're all set and ready to go. They've gotten rid of the Penguin and Catwoman teaming up to find treasure plot line, and they've got rid of the Harvey Dent plot line. Filming commences, and I think the first scene Michael Keaton filmed was the first on-screen murder by Batman.
Which apparently is one of his favourite scenes as well.
Yes, apparently. Let's tuck a bomb into someone's trousers and shove him down a sewer pipe.
Which, considering he took the other guy before, what I call Wilhelm Clown, they were probably in the same place, and he's killed probably 2 people in one go there. So, at least. There may have been more crime members ready to come up the sewer, so there's at least 2 people dead by a direct intervention from Batman, we can say.
On top of that, he sets one on fire with his boosters. Yeah. And there's 2 in the shop that he's already just ram-raided, basically, into the shop. They could be dead as well. So this is kind of the first time we see potential fatals by Batman. Because we discussed in the last one that the Joker technically killed himself.
Yeah.
Batman wanted to confine him, whereas he decided he was going to be too stubborn and technically killed himself. So, this is the first time.
Forcing his hand in a way. It wasn't like a willful action by Batman, so we can forgive that. Yeah.
So, but no, this is the first time Batman's seen to deliberately murder people. I mean, having seen the controversy over Batfleck and everyone saying that he was killing people left, right, and centre, I'm sorry. This was way before that, and it was, in my opinion, just as dark, but done in an almost comedic way.
That's it. It did that thing where it pushed it so far into dark and uncomfortable places, but then immediately flipped it around to something really silly. So you just forgot about it. You just swept along for the ride.
The genius of Tim Burton.
Exactly. He can feed you the sickest, most depraved things in the world, but then he just goes, "But look at this," and all is forgiven. You know?
Yeah, it's true. The opening scene you've got with the child being born, obviously, and you see Pee Wee Herman as his Penguin father, and the doctor comes out stopping himself from being sick, etc., and you can hear bird-like squawking instead of child screaming. It's quite obvious they tried to put a bunch of physical deformities together to make this one character up. His fingers are fused together to make the flipper.
Syndactyly, I think it's called properly.
Something like that. I can't remember.
Do you know what the French flipper trick is, by the way?
No. Do I want to know what the French flipper trick is?
Let's just say, think of that motion, think of the shocker, and we'll leave it there.
Okay, that's probably best. But yeah, so they've combined all these like curvature of the spine and things and the nose, and they've made him a little more bird-like, but we don't see any of that at this point, obviously. They've kept him in a box with bars on the windows because he's obviously dangerous. And a little hint to the future where he grabs the cat and yanks it in and obviously kills it. So rivalry between penguins and cats, kind of thing. Wonder where that's going. Yeah. And then Tim does his black and white thing when they're taking in the pushchair to the river to dump it. You've got the white pushchair with the white family going past, all happy and everything else, and then you've got these guys with this evil thing in their basket, in a black basket, and they chuck it in, and then of course credits roll.
Which is the only one of this series of 4 where it doesn't actually take place over a bat logo in any way, shape, or form, isn't it? There's no Bat logo at all.
That's true. Yeah. I did like the unscrolling of Batman.
Yeah.
Well, that was quite nice.
That was a nice touch.
The titles, yeah. But the architecture of those sewers, fantastic. Very Tim Burton again. You could say that the sewers being oval-shaped was a nod towards the Bat logo.
Yeah.
You could say it.
Most are perfectly sort of round.
Yeah. And obviously, Danny Elfman's music comes back in with alterations that make it feel a bit colder. And you head into the sewers, and that ramp it arrives at will be referenced later on.
Yeah.
Okay. So there we go. So that's 33 years before the main film starts, which is obviously the Penguin as a child. And we come into today, Gotham time.
Yeah.
And we start the actual film.
We enter with, as we mentioned before, Christopher Walken as Max Schreck, being the Santa Claus to Gotham, apparently, even though he's not.
He's the anti-Claus.
He's just like any businessman. He's the anti-Claus, exactly, as we find out much later.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing. It is like a direct parallel to that later line. It's Gotham Santa Claus, anti-Claus. But of course, then the Red Triangle gang, I wanted to say Red Circle for some reason.
Oh, Red Triangle. Yeah, turn up in their giant
attack.
And,
yeah. And it's like, oh, such a great idea. The mayor's like, it's like, not my idea. He had no idea, which is brilliant. And of course, the whole thing ends up with him being taken to see the Penguin.
Yeah, but in the meantime, Batman turns up. Now,
yes.
I'd like to talk about Wayne Manor for a moment there.
Okay.
And if Bruce Wayne ever had any guests, when the bat signal went off, I think they might get a slight hint to who he is. When these big lights shine in through the windows with the bat logo on them. It's a little unsubtle. I mean, as a kid, I thought, wow, that's brilliant. As an adult, I question it deeply. Anybody ever driving past that place seeing bat logos shining on it whilst the bat signs in the sky is going to put two and two together.
Although they could be like Max at the end of the film. He'd be like, "Wait, why are you dressed like Batman?" It's like, "Why are you a friend of Batman? Do you tell him?"
Is it the Clark Kent glasses thing?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, do you phone him up and let him know? Yes, that's exactly what I do. I'm going to do it now in this other room. Don't follow me.
Yeah. Oh, and
I won't be back for a while.
So you do get to see a secret method of getting into the Batcave in this one, which I like, but that's later on.
Yeah, the Iron Maiden.
The Iron Maiden. Sorry. Never again.
So, we do have that altercation, which is where we get that issue with Batman fighting off some goons.
Although, the first thing we see, really, is this. Oh, I love this. This is my favourite Batmobile of all of them. I mean, this one even has, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but you can open it up and there's a steering wheel in there, there's seats, there's a gear stick and all sorts of things. Other little features. These flip over to show machine guns. Yeah, so you can literally flip them. I love this. I bought this at a Comic-Con, I think Birmingham. I think it was a Showmasters thing. But it's the biggest of these that I've ever been able to get hold of. This is such an iconic vehicle to me. I just love it. I mean, they didn't alter it from the first film very much at all. They added in some little things that come out the side to trip over stilt walkers specifically, apparently. And they CGI'd the shields this time.
Which, it worked okay.
Although, I didn't like the bit where it bent round the side and kind of squished and went underneath. That looked very artificial and how can it be kind of scenario.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's one of those where it's like
the ground clearance.
The idea was great. Yeah.
Putting shields underneath it isn't going to work. But suspend disbelief and just enjoy the film.
That's it.
So yeah, so you got your Batmobile. You've got Batman having a fight with loads of warped circus clowns and things, and people with skeleton heads with bubbly eyes that, frankly, disturbed me a little as a child. But now they're cool, very cool.
Yeah, it's that thing like when at a certain age, especially if you've got a certain way of looking at the world, shall we say. You start going, wow, all this death stuff's kind of interesting in a weird way.
They crash the party, as it were, the tree lighting ceremony, and Max Schreck gets kidnapped. After Chip stands up for him and deliberately stands in the way of the gang getting him. His son...
It's literally you've got to come through me, which is... How did selfish... Well, he has moments, but mostly selfish guy create kind of valiant and chivalrous son? Where did that come from?
If you've ever read the novelization, there's some stuff in there that shows that he really loves his son. That he's proud of him and stuff like that.
And the fact that he calls him Chip, it is a term of endearment. That's not his actual name, it's Charles. So, and you only do that.
I don't think Max Schreck is per se as evil as the Penguin or the Joker, but he's still very immoral.
Yes, he's greedy and, like a lot of businessmen at that sort of level, not looking at anyone whose initials might be JB. They do have a certain way of looking at the world, and it's like, is this going to make me profit? No, sod it then. Effectively. Yeah. And it's not an evil, it's just a lack of consideration anymore. Yeah. It just doesn't factor in. It's so minuscule to them.
I agree.
But yeah, Chip does a very valiant act. Although I don't know if you caught this, but it sounded almost like the actor was trying to do a terrible Walken impression.
You'll have to go through me.
I did comment yesterday when I was watching it. He's trying to do a better Christopher Walken than Christopher Walken. He was doing his best. However, it came across like Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to do Christopher Walken.
Well, I had to look him up. I was like, oh, is he like foreign? Am I being like mean to think that it sounds funny? I'm like, no, he's from Philadelphia, I think, or somewhere like that. So he's literally trying to do Walken. And the thing is, Philadelphia is like very near New York.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he can't nail the accent.
It's a different accent, isn't it? And he's not a great actor.
It's across the border, it's so close.
Oh, stop it. You're making excuses for somebody who just can't act very well. He was a bit wooden, but I think he had to be.
What, to allow everyone else to
shine? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You've got to have your levels, haven't you?
I'll concede that, I think, in this instance.
Yeah. So Max Schreck runs off, goes behind a tent and hides in an alleyway or something, and of course ends up falling through a sewer grate.
Yes.
Falling through. There's no intent there. There's no reason why he's suddenly disappeared. That shadowy figure with an umbrella that's running around isn't anything to do with it at all.
This mysterious bird creature that everyone keeps talking about, nothing to do with it. Because this is the Red Triangle Gang. That's an entirely separate thing.
Yeah, of course it is. He has a meeting with the Penguin, where Penguin reveals himself properly and shows us what Max Schreck flushes away. You flush it, I flaunt it.
Yes. Well, it goes on your toilet, I put on my mantelpiece. I'm like, someone literally sat and wrote these lines.
Well, they were trying to make us feel very uncomfortable, and they succeeded, obviously.
For years after this, I was terrified of Danny DeVito.
Well, the problem is that Danny DeVito now kind of looks a bit like the Penguin did then. It's a shame.
No.
There's a little, apart from the nose. The hair's right.
Well, yeah. No, it's not that stringy. It's not quite that
All right, fair enough. But no, he's getting there.
I've learned. I've learned over the years how wonderful as a person he is.
Oh yeah.
But for a good long while between first seeing Batman Returns to maybe within the last decade, I was like, this man's terrifying, and I don't like him at all. He makes my skin crawl.
You just have to watch Twins. Watch the film Twins. It changes everything. He's basically blackmailing Max Schreck to help him come out of the sewers and become a person. But obviously he has his ulterior motive to this, which doesn't get revealed for a while, but you kind of get hints towards it for a long time, that he's searching through the records, trying to find himself, but making notes on lots of people.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, when you see Batman rolling by, he's got this thing in his head, Alfred's going, come back, you've been out all night, but he's like, no, I can't let this go. There's something more at play here. And he's on the money. This shows, again, like the last one, there are elements of the detective brain that are actually shown in this a lot more, which is great.
This reinforces the reason I didn't like the Christian Bale Batman very much. If you watch the last video, I probably had a bit of a rant in there about the Christian Bale Batman being stupid. He is a bit compared to this guy. This guy's got intuition. He's got just that savvy that comes with being a detective. He's the Mosby Boys. No, he's not. Sorry. But no, he really can. He really comes across as intelligent and knowing what to do. However, there are bits of this where they kind of took the mickey out of that a little with the remixing and the stuff like that.
Although I thought that was never possible, but apparently the technology did exist later to be able to kind of scratch, if you will, optical discs.
No, you could back then.
No, not quite then. The technology wasn't quite around in like the early 90s.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I thought that it was impossible because obviously there's no physical connection. But I actually looked it up, and someone's actually put online, well, maybe it's Bruce Wayne. He could have invented it.
Yeah, it's probably something else about this film, which we should come back to later, is you actually see him doing his own repair work in this film. But I'm not going to talk about that until later on. But yeah, it's not just a case of getting somebody to build it in parts and then put the parts together. He actually constructs things himself, which, wow. Okay. More intelligent Batman altogether.
And there's no better way to know your equipment than by making it yourself.
Exactly, I agree completely.
So it's perfectly sounded. It makes sense for the character. It makes sense for the world, because then he doesn't have to hide it from the company that he's
I agree.
Head of.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's Lucius Fox is a great inclusion, but an unnecessary one.
Yes.
Basically.
Although I'd say that the tech that he's using in that is a little beyond just one man. That's a research team kind of stuff. Yeah, okay.
And I guess it like enables him to access higher technology that way.
Yes, so I agree.
We can kind of allow that. Yeah.
But I can imagine the Keaton Batman still ordering certain things in, because like.
How do you get big fins off eBay? You'd get the metal and beat it out. There you go. But yeah.
Beat what out?
You'd shape the metal.
Oh, okay, right. You shape the metal by
technology.
Right, okay. Because of technology. I like it. Okay, fair enough. He finds out who his family were, but the Batman already has this instinct that he knows that he already knew who his parents were anyway, and it doesn't. All this is a charade. However, unless the Penguin himself is a very good actor, which I don't believe he is, because if you see him later on, the character himself can't act, even though Danny DeVito. Wow. Yeah.
It's like with musicians, where for us to sing off key takes a lot of skill.
It does, yeah.
Because we're going against our natural instincts. So for someone to act like they can't act as an actor,
that's incredible.
It does take a lot of skill. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
So you've got the whole cemetery scene where you actually see Alexander Knox back again, portrayed by a different actor. And if you don't know who Alexander Knox is, he was Vicky Vale's partner, technically, in the first film. We'll call him that. Overzealous news reporter. And he asks some questions, and he asks the question you'll never get to square up with your parents. Of the Penguin.
Make it right, basically.
Yeah. At which point you see the Penguin show the first real decent emotion that isn't just anger or hatred.
There's a moment of sympathy for the character, which, considering every other part of the film, like I say, I was terrified of even Danny DeVito for years after.
Yeah.
They still made you care.
Yeah. So well done. Little thing that I noticed in there, as he's walking up to his parents' gravestone, the gravestone to his right, he knocks it by accident and it wobbles noticeably.
Yeah, I think his coat just brushes it, doesn't it?
Yeah, something that's supposed to be planted a foot into the ground, it doesn't really look that way at all. It just moves a bit too much.
No, but it's a tiny little bit in the corner of a scene, if you will. It's not. If you're focusing on his parents' gravestones, you're fine. It's
possibly the only set issue in the entire film. I mean, you do notice the Batmobile bouncing a little bit in a flimsy kind of way when it first arrives, if you're really paying attention. But let's face it,
You've got to be one of those people who just sits and tries to pick fault to notice some of the things. There are probably other things that we've not noticed.
My friend Nigel sent me through a schematic for a 3D printable Batmobile. And it's very good, and it's got all these moving parts, and it's got guns and things that will pop out when you press buttons and things. It's quite phenomenal, and yes, brilliant. And you can purchase the pattern online somewhere. I don't know, but it had the initial image has these two things coming out that look like wings because of the way the image is done. However, what it is it's the stilt smashers, but they've been put slightly too high. So what I did was I went and had a look at the actual footage, and I paused the video. So I was watching it intently for these things coming out, which is when I noticed the Batmobile wobbling. So yeah, that's the reason I spotted it. I was looking for something else, and it turns out they put them too high. They were supposed to be central to the wheel, so they look like wings. So it looked like it was trying to fly on two little, very small wings, which made me chuckle a little. But still, a very good model other than that little feature. We've got that big scene where he actually shows true emotion, and it looks like they've got through to him, in a way. And you see some humanity in the Penguin. And it was actually quite emotional, I have to admit, seeing that. This time, it got me a lot more than last time. I don't know what's changed that made it so. Maybe I'm just more observant.
Maybe it's because you've been locked up for so long that any show of emotion is just enough now.
Yeah,
I've been a big bitch baby since the lockdowns happened. I'm worse than normal, so maybe it's a thing.
That night, yes, or it might be the night before, when Selina Kyle is boning up for the meeting. So she'd had. We see that first meeting, and if you look in the background on the wall, you'll see Max Schreck with people like Arnold Schwarzenegger and a few other famous people in photos on the wall, which is I like that little nod. I think that's quite cool. And Selina obviously makes her suggestion. Well, it's more of a question, really, thing. Yeah, but she does make a hell of a cup of coffee. Then later on, she goes home, and if you watch both scenes of her arriving home, the similarities are really quite well done in such a way that it works.
Honey, I'm home. Honey, I'm home! Oh, I forgot. I'm not married. Where's Kitty? Back from more sexual escapades than we used to share? Not that I'd ever cry. Oh, drinking dinner.
I like the fact that in the pacing of the film, they are close enough together that it's still fresh enough in your mind. I think if it would have been 10 minutes later, it might have been like, oh yeah, she did this before. It was kind of perfect, I found.
If you listen to the voice answering machine, there's a few things on there. I mean, you find out that her mum's a bit of a pesterer, and her partner...
I have no idea what that's like.
No, honest. Her partner
She won't watch this.
/ fiance, whatever he is has decided not to go on the ski trip with her. He's going alone so he can sort himself out, so he can not be an appendage, is the word that he uses. Yeah, which upsets her. And then she gets a voicemail. Oh, we meet a cat as well, don't we? Miss Kitty.
Yes, Miss Kitty. Yeah. It looks a lot like both of my cats at different times.
Yes,
Different
and Salem
shots look
from
like one or the other.
Sabrina.
Yes.
Not that I watched Sabrina. Then she gets to an answer phone message telling her she's forgotten to do work at the office and get Bruce Wayne stuff. So she goes back to the office again. So
this is, of course, after she's already forgotten to give him the speech earlier on that he was meant to have when he was turning the lights on. So there's already that thing in his mind of she's a bit scatterbrained,
But yeah, this is quite a big scene in the film, really, because you find out that she's actually quite intelligent, and she can figure out stuff on her own, like getting into protected files by figuring out it was his dog's name, which was his stuffed dog on the wall.
Geraldo. The Chihuahua, yeah.
The
stuffed Chihuahua.
Stuffed Chihuahua. So yes, basically, he doesn't like that. He doesn't like that she's seen that the power plant that he's trying to leave behind for Chip is actually a capacitor, so he's going to steal all the power and then sell it back at exorbitant rates, I'm assuming.
Probably.
That's his big plan. So he threatens to kill her, makes it into a joke, and then...
I mean, that fake out was well done as well. Because it does, the tension all releases from the ceiling, and all of a sudden he's just like, push. Oh no, it just hits you that harder. Well, not as much as it hits her.
To be honest with you, I think she'd have died when she hit the first one. The whiplash probably would have broken her neck.
It depends on how taut those are. I mean, they do look fairly taut, those awnings.
Yes. So I think, well, no, it's more the fact that her body would have gone through first. So you'd have had a like that. Yeah. So her neck would have gone forward at a very fast rate. She would have, there's a likelihood she would have snapped her neck, but still, never mind. Suspend disbelief again. When she lands, I don't know if you noticed, or if anybody else out there noticed, there's 2 little bite marks under her chin.
Yes.
That suggests the whole Max Schreck Nosferatu connection. Maybe it might just be makeup that fits in with everything else splatter. But apparently
it's a clever little touch.
They covered the mannequin that was originally lying there in tuna, and then put it all over her clothes for when she was there to get the cats to crowd round. Ugh. Yeah. So she's brought back to life by Kitty Juju, whatever it is that does it. Maybe the nibbling on her fingers was to, come on, wake up, wake up, wake up. Although it does prove the point, if you die in a house with cats, they're going to eat you.
Only when they realise there's nothing else to eat.
Well, yeah. Okay, fair enough. But they probably would.
To be fair.
I mean, my dogs probably would eat me in the end anyway. Yeah, so Kitty Juju wakes her back up again, brings her back to life, and obviously now she's changed. And you could see it.
There's something
different,
dark within her.
And she goes back home again and relives the first moments, but in a very stoned way. Hi, honey, I'm home. Oh, I forgot, I'm not married. Yeah, spilling milk everywhere, all over herself, and then she gets the spray can out and spray stuff. Oh, she sprays some T-shirts. Did you notice the coat hangers?
Yes.
Yeah. There is a theory on the internet. I don't know how big a theory it is, but that the penguins on the dry cleaning label on the coat hangers suggests that the Red Triangle Gang are making money through a dry cleaners. Or it's a front.
It's like a front, it probably is a funding source for them or something. I wouldn't be surprised.
It's possible.
If it's genuinely a dry cleaners, then it might be money laundering.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Actual laundering.
Thought of that? Yeah.
In one.
Yeah. Good point. She's done all that. She's sprayed her T-shirts. She finds the PVC coat, which I don't think there's enough material. Yeah, exactly. I don't think there's enough material there to make an entire cat suit.
I'd forgotten that she literally just picks that one thing up. I'm like, are you kidding?
Unless there were trousers with it. But she managed to make perfectly fitting cat suit by herself. How?
And somehow already has like thimble / unpicker combinations lying around. I've never seen any like that. No, because a thimble is there so you can actually still get your finger in places. An unpicker attached to it wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's Tim Burton's mad imagination.
Tim Burton, yeah. Also, I like the fact that she amends the neon sign.
Hell here instead of hello there.
Yeah.
Yeah. The moment that there's a line that comes when she first puts on the suit. And there was a band back in the late 90s called Earthwood that I used to like. They were only a touring band particularly. I don't think they had a record deal or anything like that. But their second album, or it might have been their first EP, I can't remember, had a song on it that used a sample from this film. I didn't know it for a long time because they'd pitch shifted it down a bit. But it was...
I don't know about you, Miss Kitty, but I feel so much yummier.
That was sampled and put at the start of a song, which I think it was called Pleasure and Pain or something like that. And it worked.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was only watching the film again after hearing that album or EP or whatever it was, that I noticed it and went, oh, that's where it's from. And then you've got everything else that happened after that, which we've already talked about with Chester Cobblepot. Sorry, that's Goonies. You've got Oswald finding his name, finding his parents and everything, and Bruce Wayne sympathizes with him at this point.
Yes,
as he finds his parents.
As someone who is also an orphan.
Even though he's got something going on in his head about him, you know.
I think it shows that he can separate, you know, his feelings about what he's doing against his feelings about the person. You know, it's like, what you're doing is wrong, but you're me through a dark mirror, effectively, in a way. Yeah, I think there's a lot of themes in this about rejection.
Yes,
and sort of being accepted. There's a lot of themes of that here, and maybe this is some weird catharsis for Burton. Who knows?
If you go through all that stuff we've already gone through, you've got the first Catwoman attack, haven't you? Proper appearance, where that woman gets pulled into an alley, and Catwoman appears. You've got that. You make it so easy for them, don't you?
Yeah, she just sort of admonishes basically her for being a victim.
Yeah,
because you know, victim blaming is a good thing.
Yeah. Well,
different time.
This is the thing, Catwoman, isn't she? She's not. Yeah. She's chaotic, neutral, technically, or is she
chaotic, neutral, leaning towards evil?
Yeah. She's at the back end of that.
Yeah, she's not fully in the evil pot yet. She's just dipping her toes in, you know.
Isn't this where Max Schreck suggests that the Penguin should be
running for mayor?
For mayor, yes, it is, isn't it? And
somewhere around that point.
You've got the eating of the fish, which is enough to put you off your dinner.
Disgusting moment.
Yeah, don't eat whilst watching that scene. It really puts me off. And then, of course, you've got the nose biting scene.
Yeah, which is weird because apparently this actor has been attacked by Danny DeVito twice in the same year in 2 different films. I think it was Hoffa that he was also attacked in. So there's just something about this guy. Steve Whitting, I think the actor's name is.
We must mention the cigarette pipe.
Yes,
it's there briefly, isn't it? So
it's quite clever because it's just a nod, of course, to the comic books. It's a nod to Burgess Meredith, but it's also a nod to the fact that in the opening scene, Paul Rubens does actually have a cigarette holder. So it's linking the past and this film nicely. But of course, he immediately just like, nope, spits it out.
It's still the same night, isn't it, that we see the mugging get stopped. The next thing you see is Catwoman in a department store smashing things. Such an iconic scene, this whole thing, where she smashes stuff and then stops and starts skipping on her whip. And that's just the change there.
Which just shows that weird, like, to use a very fancy word, that capricious nature that she's now got, you know, as Catwoman.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. And then she skips along to the security guards and they say, hey, we're on minimum wage or whatever it is.
Yeah, we only get paid $300 an hour.
Yeah, you're overpaid.
Per day. Yeah.
And then you see her loading a microwave with aerosols.
Which was actually excised from home release in the UK for a long while.
Oh, was it? I didn't know that.
Scene. And there were a couple of scenes, including that were excised. That one particularly stayed out even until the most recent release. Wow. Because it's a mimicable act, is what the BBC said.
Oh, okay.
Like kids are likely to kind of go, oh yeah, I'll shove a spray can in the microwave. So that was actually cut, which also meant that we didn't get some commentaries because they would be out of sync. And no one could be bothered to cut the commentary together.
And she cuts the gas line. Next thing we see is Batman finds the Penguin and they're having a conversation about Batman saying that he's onto him, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And then you hear a noise and you see this back-flipping cat suit wearing woman.
A lot of fetishists were born that day.
Oh, they were. Skipping across the street, basically, and then she stops and says the best line ever.
Meow.
As Shrek's department store explodes. Oh, I saw her first, and obviously...
Oh, yeah, it's the fighting over Catwoman, which is... It doesn't sit very well.
Penguin flies off on his helicopter umbrella, which I loved. Well, it was
I
great
love
to
the
see
fact
the
they did
gadgets.
that. They made sure that they had the gadget umbrellas.
Oh yeah, I mean,
And it's a great nod at the end, of course, to that, but we'll get to that.
we'd already seen the big, the Hypno one with the exploding blanks in it, kind of thing. At this point, but yeah.
And I love the joke about that. It's like, are you trying to hypnotise me? No, I'm just trying to give you a headache.
Is that supposed to
love it. It's
hypnotise
just like,
me?
yes.
No, just give you one hell of a headache or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just goes bang. Yeah, I love it.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. Anyway, yeah, so he flies off on his helicopter. Catwoman climbs up to a roof, and Batman goes after her. And when he gets there, they have a bit of a fight. But when he finally actually hits her, she says, "How could you? I'm a woman."
And at which point the dumbass goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
Yeah, I know. But it just shows Batman has morals.
Yeah, but equal rights equals equal fights.
This was the 90s. Doesn't she stab him at that point?
Yes, although it appears she goes for the straight shot, even though his wound's on his right side.
And then he throws her off a roof. Now, as she falls, did you notice there's people sitting on balconies that see her fall?
No?
Because you always focus on her falling. This time watching it, I was watching background stuff for most of the film because I know what's going on in the foreground. And if you look just to the left of her as she's falling, there's two balconies, one above each other, and there's people sitting on it. And the woman clearly on the bottom balcony goes, "Way," like that.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then she lands in the kitty litter, a truckload of kitty litter. How ironic. How fortunate. How lucky.
Yeah.
How contrived. It's a bit of a cliche and a bit camp. So maybe nod back to the 60s vibe there, which is kind of nice.
It's the fact that, again, like we said before, you've got darkness, you've got serious stuff, but then you've just got off-the-wall fun.
From there onwards, we believe that she's dead. Well, no. Batman probably believes she's dead.
Yeah, obviously, because we've seen her survive. She's fine.
Max Schreck believes she's dead because he threw her out of the window. And the meeting with Bruce Wayne happens.
That's it, yeah. And then he gets the surprise when she walks in, of course.
Yes, and Bruce is quite surprised by her as well.
Yeah, and amazingly infatuated with her.
Yes, straight away.
Straight away. Love at first sight, or lust at first sight, I think.
Maybe a little bit of both, but still.
I think more on the lust side.
Yeah, probably. And the first time I saw this, my reaction was, well, who can blame him? Well, we've got the meeting with Bruce Wayne where Bruce Wayne basically says he's not going to back the power plant because he thinks it's a load of crap. Till Selina walks in and baffles both of them. And after Bruce has left and there's a bit of flirting going on, Max says, I'll just have to throw her out of a higher window.
Yeah.
Now, in the novelization, Chip backs him up on that because Chip actually saw him.
Yes, I did. I'd never read the novelization, but I did see it when I was looking at some stuff. That yes, that was a plot point, which shows that Chip isn't all as good as he's portrayed.
No, yeah,
either.
But it also shows that he loves his dad.
Yes, and he's willing to do anything to help him, which is misguided, but you can see where he's coming from.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's the duality starts appearing right at that moment, in my opinion. You start seeing that there are two sides to these characters, and Catwoman's not Catwoman persona, her Selina Kyle, is dazed, confused, and a little not with it.
Yeah.
And a little skitty. Whereas we know she's intelligent, and as Catwoman, she's badass.
Yeah.
So it's a Clark Kent scenario a bit, really.
Yeah, and interestingly, it's portraying both sides of domestic cats quite well. There are some cats who are very skittish and very, sort of what's going on and very timid, and then there are some that are just, you don't want to know because they're just crazy and rambunctious and doing whatever they want.
Climbing the curtains.
And most cats probably fit somewhere in the middle, but there are cats on the extremes, and
I'll agree
that they've brought those characteristics in.
Yeah. Oh, we've missed out other stuff. Her first meeting with Batman, when the clown tries to taser her and she gets the taser. Yeah,
when she nicks the taser for later.
Yeah, needed mentioning. There's a line that Bruce Wayne says, oh yes, we've already met. Oh, I must have been thinking, what was it? I
must have mistook
me for someone else, yeah. Which
she's like, don't you mean mistook me?
No, but it's true. That's the problem. Yeah. I loved that little line. I thought that was very clever. So
There's a lot of great lines in this. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, it's one that's way up there.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've got the whole tree relighting happening next, haven't you?
I think it's somewhere in the next. I don't think there's anything between there that's massively important that I can think of.
The Penguin and one of the Red Triangle people kidnap the Snow Queen or whatever.
Ice Princess. Yeah,
that's the one. And he calls out Batman to be there at the tree lighting. The Penguin does, because he's planning to frame Batman, basically. I did want to mention the Batarang. The Batarang that loses no force when it hits somebody.
The programmable Batarang that has got small jets in it. That's the only way I can justify it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
but
and
also
tracking.
It isn't hard enough to apparently smack a poodle, because the poodle should not have stopped it if it was going with the same kind of strength.
The poodle would have just gone boom, like that.
It would have been poodle into woman and flying.
Yeah. They stole the Batarang and obviously used it on the Ice Princess in order to steal it and leave it behind as evidence. So it looks like Batman.
It's super dumb for not knowing who the Penguin is when she sees him. Because when he breaks into the tent, she's like, "Oh, who are you?" And it's like, "I'm a talent scout." But he's been running for mayor.
Yes, that's a fair point.
She'll surely have seen him on something. Even if it's just posters, she'll be like, "Oh, wait, is that you?"
Yeah, I never thought of that.
Biggest plot hole in the film to me. I mean, she's portrayed as an airhead, so maybe we'll let that slide.
Oh, we missed out the meeting with Penguin and Catwoman where they decide they're going to do this as well. That meeting's very important. I mean, the innuendos that are flying about in that meeting. As a child, you wouldn't get most of them, but now, good God. And apparently Michelle Pfeiffer did actually put that live bird in her mouth.
But not for the entire period.
No.
Yeah.
No. She put it in, took it out.
Yeah, well, the first entry was a fake bird.
Right, okay.
Then they put a real bird in the mouth for about 2 seconds. They actually backed it in. She's a bit weird. So
that she could open her mouth and it fly out.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in there for that long. And when she's holding her mouth, I think it was just a fake one in there. But she didn't think that the fake ones looked that good, so she wanted it.
That's it, yeah. She did for real. A bit like Gillian Anderson in the X-Files when she ate the cricket. She's flirtatious in nature, and he thinks they're all actually flirting. And no, it's never going to happen. So, but yeah.
Well, she's using her wiles. He's just dumb.
I'll accept that.
And also probably really starved for any kind of attention.
Yes, I'll accept that too. So you've got all sorts going on there, haven't you? You know full well that they're in cahoots, but how loosely in cahoots. They both just want to get rid of Batman. It's
very much let's get rid of the Bat, and everything after that we'll figure out down the line.
Yeah, so you have a good fight where at one point there's a chair involved in the fight and all sorts, whips, the lot. And then they disappear off to the roof. Batman follows. By not using a grapple gun or something, he climbs.
No, he just goes upstairs and
See, if
pedestrian.
I'd have been quick about it with a grapple gun, but still, that's possibly the dumbest Batman moment in both the films.
All I can think of is maybe he didn't think he'd need it that night, so didn't put it on the belt.
Something about the utility belt. Did you notice how things seemed to just slide round for his usage?
Yeah,
I thought that was very good.
It's like shock repellent. Wait, wrong version.
Wrong one. Yes, very much so.
But
stuff just. He wanted the grapple gun. It's there. So, but no. That fight's going on. Meanwhile, the Red Triangle gang have dismantled the Batmobile in order to figure out. How they got hold of schematics, I have no idea. Because surely there wouldn't be any.
There is something out there that says, it's a disgruntled engineer. But again, what we were saying before, Bruce has pretty much built this on his own. There should be no one with schematics. So unless you're saying that Alfred got annoyed and just went, have some blueprints.
Yeah. Now you see, that's my biggest plot hole. Put them online
to build a 3D printed version.
Yes. Maybe that's my big plot hole. That's the one I think's the biggest plot hole, is where they got the schematics to figure it all out, and how suddenly they're all wizard electrical engineers.
Yeah, although Doug Jones isn't. He's just there like with 2 wires, just
yeah.
That's all he's doing. So they're not all electrical engineers.
And they show this spinning ball of doom, the radio receiver thing, going inside the car when clearly it's just planted underneath, which they show you later. So why bother taking it apart?
Well, it's not the only thing I think that they tweaked with. I think they fiddled with other stuff, which is why you couldn't get
They had to automate all the controls.
The Bat missile working properly and everything as well.
Yes, they had to automate the controls. So I get that, but still, the blueprints is a big flaw. Anyway, so they've done that, and then the lights get turned on by the Ice Princess being knocked off the roof scared off the roof by bats from the Penguin's umbrella.
Because, of course, this is all a smearing campaign against Batman. Make everyone think.
And, of course, Catwoman and Penguin aren't anywhere to be seen, but Batman can be seen trying to save her, but it's too late, and he gets blamed for it. So,
of course, when she does hit the
button, all the bats fly out from the tree, which makes it even more Batman.
Again, cements it. Yeah, it's a well-crafted idea to slate the Batman. But...
CGI bats, by the way, no real bats were harmed in the making of this film, as far as we're aware. Unlike penguins, but we'll get to that one later. Not harmed.
No.
Penguins. We'll get to that one later.
Very well looked after.
So Batman is now the bad guy, so he's trying to run away. Meanwhile, Penguin and Catwoman are together on a rooftop watching the chaos. Batman flies down with his super cool bat wings that turn back into a cape afterwards, which technically they explain in Batman Begins. It's some kind of memory fabric.
Although it's clearly a contraption.
Yeah, I know, which disappears and
arguably those are different continuities. So I don't think it justifies this, the Batman Begins one.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I like to think that's pretty much what it is, but still, by the same token, it looks cool.
It looks cool.
Yes,
it sold a lot of toys.
Yes, probably. It sold a lot of toys. That Batwing thing did. So yeah, he flies off. Meanwhile, they're talking, and Penguin's suggesting they get married, and she says, "Definitely not. You're repulsive."
Yeah.
And he hooks his helicopter umbrella into a collar somehow, or around a neck or something, and flies her off. Go to heaven, my unintended.
Yes. What a weird line, but
very much Penguin. So yeah. And then she manages to get loose and falls into a conservatory on a rooftop and screams very loudly. And even though she's broken the glass by landing there, when she screams, it shatters the rest of the glass. Works for effect.
Because, she
practical.
Wanted lacerations all over her body.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all. We haven't mentioned Batman's other toy that he uses on her at some point.
Hey, phrasing!
The blue day glow napalm stuff, yeah. Explosive gel or whatever it is. It's an Arkham reference coming in there. But yeah, he uses. I think it freezes personally. I don't think it burns.
I don't know. Looking at her arm a bit later on, that bubble is very much an acidic reaction, I would say. Or
yeah, okay, we'll go with acidic. It's probably an acidic reaction, not a. Yeah, all right, we'll go with acidic. Yeah. All right, fair enough. I mean, PVC would shatter in cold, but the mark on the skin's bubbly, isn't it? So you've got that whole romantic scene that's awkward as hell to start with, and then she jumps on him and she digs her hand where it hurts and he moves it, and then he's rolling his hand down her arm and showing the thing, and they both say, oh, can't do this. And then the news comes on that someone's kidnapped the Ice Princess. That Batman and you see Commissioner Gordon with the actual thing saying this is purely circumstantial evidence,
which shows his faith in him. I like that. It's a good little moment of because Commissioner Gordon doesn't really get much of a character arc in these films, so it's nice to have that moment.
And then you've got the changing scene in the car, which didn't go far enough for most people, but how she managed to don that skin tight. The entire thing, I was thinking, just pull over, get changed, and then carry on.
I like the juxtaposition, though, of it. You've got Batman, cool and collected, all these different pieces together, which, wonderfully comes together, the suit, everything, and she's just
so if you get the fish tank, he has to press the button and then go in the Iron Maiden and go down to the Batcave, and Alfred says, I'll just use the stairs.
As well, after he's admonished Alfred for letting Vicky in the Batcave.
Yes, which is one of the big references to Vicky Vale, which both happen in that scene. Because we've already touched on that anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But no, I love the fact that he has to put his hand in the fish tank and press the door on Wayne Manor to open the Iron Maiden. However, you'd have thought when the Iron Maiden opened at that point, the spikes would have retracted before he got in it.
You'd think so, because
maybe I'm just being a bit naive there, but yeah.
Well, I guess it's done to kind of create this like, oh my god, is it going to scare him effect? Like the audience are like, is something gone wrong with this?
Well, you'd have thought as it closed, you'd have thought the spikes would have retracted.
They retracted at the start.
But they've both run away, gone and done that, and then that's when Batman gets in the Batmobile and finds out that he can't control it, and the Penguin's in control. Yeah, so the Penguin's left that scene, gone down to his trailer, and got in the thing that I really want as my gaming chair. The little Batmobile ride, which is so... Can you imagine that as a gaming chair?
Oh, it'd be ace. Especially if you made like some kind of like racing game in it as well. Just like...
Oh, yeah. They should just make it... Just play Arkham Knight in it. I'd also be fine with an Outrun style game of Batman that you can use.
Nicely. Yeah.
That'd be ace, wouldn't it? Yeah. So, yeah. Something like that, where you've got to race. In fact, to hell with it. Batman Kart.
Yeah.
Not Mario Kart, Batman Kart.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
And perfect. You can also have the duck car from later on.
Yeah, yeah.
For the duck. So many ideas.
The duck car. It has one. I don't know if you can see, but the wheels are all different logos. Different designs. I never noticed that in the film particularly, but some of the detail on this is really quite nice.
Wow.
This is the Hot Wheels one that came out last year, I believe. There were various different ones from different films, and I have most of them. As to be expected.
Yep.
I have a cabinet, which I can't show you, but it's full of Batmobiles. I mean, this film is on the vehicle side of things. This is the first appearance of the Batboat, isn't it?
Yes.
Or whatever it's called. Anyway, so Batman's inside the Batmobile. The Penguin's controlling it in that amazing thing that I so want, and you can see the trailer moving as if he's doing something else, but never mind. Very vigorously.
Yes.
In order to make it move that much. But so he's racing around, smashing things, basically, running people over, except the old granny, because Batman manages to break the circuit by that point.
Yeah.
He finds out where it is because he's good.
Or lucky.
Well, he uses that very, very accurate thing that can track the entire of the car somehow and find where there's a foreign object. I mean, that's convenient, like shock repellent. So then he's heading for this very narrow alley, and he flips every button possible, and bits of the Batmobile are flying off, and it turns into this like sled.
The official term is the Bat Missile, I believe.
Okay, fair enough.
I wanted to call it a Bat Pod, but that's technically what comes out of the tumbler in later versions. This is actually called the Bat
Even
Missile.
Though that's actually just a bike.
Yeah. Which should be a Bat Bike, and this should be a Bat Pod. It looks more like
a
pod to me.
I agree.
Or torpedo, Bat Torpedo.
I think it looks more like a luge, but never mind.
Well, yeah. Which is basically a torpedo on ice, but
So the wheels move in and everything. It's really intelligently done. And then he skids his way home, basically. And then next time you see the Batmobile, he's rebuilding it.
Yeah.
On a very flimsy looking cliff. Outcrop.
Yeah.
And they're not touching, and Alfred's standing one side with the invitation thing, and he's the other side working on it. That scared me a little.
But I guess that's Burton just putting form over function for a minute there. Just like, this looks cool. Let's put this in.
Which he does a lot, but still, that in Burton's way, that's what makes him great. Because normal rules of physics go out the window. It's all about enjoyment and aesthetic. So, and because everything's intelligently done, he gets away with anything aesthetic that might be an issue. So fair point. Like Edward Scissorhands, the entire movie.
He's basically David Lynch light in a lot of ways. very aesthetically focused, but it's palatable enough for most people. David Lynch goes too far, and most people go, "What the hell?"
Okay,
So
fair enough.
He's Lynch light in that way. He can get away with so much more because he goes, "Look, people still need to enjoy this."
I'll agree. Again,
it's not
I'll
just for
agree
me
with
to enjoy; it's for other people, and I respect that.
You've got Oswald Cobblepot for Mayor speech, and Danny Elfman's cameo. So they've obviously you see him put a disc in the machine whilst the Penguin's on the screen in the Batmobile, and
Which is what he recorded
obviously
from the scene.
So him and Alfred, whilst he's doing his speech about being mayor and everything else, him and Alfred go and take sections of the talking and remix it for the audience, the crowd. At which point they'll turn on the Penguin and they start pelting him with tomatoes and cabbages. Who brings these things to speeches? And eggs, Well, the Penguin actually says that. There's always one who brings eggs to a Penguin is disgraced, and he gives the line, "I am an animal, not a human," which is the antithesis of the Elephant Man's line.
I mentioned Lynch earlier.
Yes, there's somewhere there's a thing where I think it's the Penguin says it'll be a hot time. It's
Selena.
Selena says it'll be a hot time in the cold town tonight, which is obviously a link back to Joker. The Joker says it'll be a hot time in the old town tonight in the first film.
To Anton Ratelli, the guy he electrocuted, that traumatized me.
Ironically, both films have someone who dies from really bad electrocution. But that's a spoiler for the end. I think
Burton's got an issue.
Yeah, so do I. I think somebody got electrocuted in his family.
Yeah.
Possible. Anyway,
so it's probably him. That's like when because a lot of incarnations of the character, even if they don't like it at the start, grow to a fondness of the Penguin name. And this is like the moment that he does that, because a lot of times it is used as a term of like a derogatory term, particularly in Gotham. It was very much that way, but Sal Maroni kind of encouraged him to adopt it a bit more. And this is that moment of him where he's like, "No, I am the Penguin. I'm not a man." And I love that moment for it. But then, yes, that does segue us into one of the weirder moments in a Batman film, a masquerade ball.
Yes, a masquerade ball. Well, let's face it, in a masquerade ball, the only people who haven't got masks on.
Well, I actually put in my notes, Bruce Wayne without mask, as Bruce Wayne is the mask.
Yes,
that's exactly what my notes say.
Same with Selena.
Selena, yeah, I put that later.
Selena, is the mask. So that they're both wearing their masks technically. Although the only other person that isn't wearing a mask is the mayor,
who has got knives in his back.
A knife in his back, which represents the
fact that he's being backstabbed by Shrek.
Yeah, basically.
Also, there is like a Red Death mask somewhere. Someone's on the stairs, so it's a little link to the Phantom
of the Opera. I noticed that myself. It's very much the same as the Phantom's outfit from Phantom of the Opera, the Masquerade Ball.
But I like the version of Super Freak. It's a very interesting version. It's got the font, but it's really, I
love it.
Yeah. I like this.
However,
face-to-face.
Moving on to the next thing, the Danny Elfman, Susie and the Banshees collaboration piece.
Yeah.
Face to Face. One of my favourite songs from any film. It's way up there in the top 10. I absolutely adore this song. I think musically it's cat-like.
Yeah.
Vocally, very cat-like.
It's got that little staccato kind of movement.
As well in there and things like that. It's got the nice portamentos on the violin, which... haunting. And
Susie's kind of vocal mellifluity.
She really comes across as a cat in that song, and I think it's so well done. I mean, I think I have the 12-inch picture disc of it somewhere. It's a nice thing to have. I only really bought the soundtrack for that when I bought it way back when. However, I really want... Now I listen to the whole thing because I love Danny Elfman's music. Although I can only listen to that one in winter. Has to be December-ish kind of period.
It's got a lot of the bells. It's got a lot of that feel.
Yeah.
It's got the strings.
It's got the Edward Scissorhands vibe.
Yeah.
/ Nightmare Before Christmas. It's between the two.
Yeah.
With Batman. So you've got three things amalgamated to make one beautiful sound.
Yeah.
Which is really nice. It's a haunting Christmas. But then Face to Face is an all year rounder for me. I listen to that all the time. It's on in the car. It's on my playlist on my phone. It's
I mean, again, it's because it doesn't lean on the Christmas side; it leans on the feline side, if you will.
Yes,
so
it
it
does.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But for me, that was before my, I guess, like gothic tendencies in my brain, if you will, and like my musical appreciation was nowhere near what it is now. So I actually hated it for many years. It took me a long time to actually go, "Ooh, wait a minute." It was only probably within the last like 10, 15 years that I listened to it again and went, "Okay. I like what this is doing. I could appreciate it a lot more, the nuance and everything." But I
And the words are well written as well. I mean, the first line, "Face to face, my lovely foe." I think the whole thing just sums up that scene. But if you watch the scene and listen to the music and stop listening to the dialogue, because the dialogue's amazing, but it is the big reveal moment where they figure out who each other are because of the
mistletoe line echoing.
Yeah. The music, it stops being face to face for a moment.
Yes.
It goes into this very orchestral thing and it's gorgeous. I want that version. I want an extended version of face to face with that bit as the solo in the middle kind of thing.
Yes. I know,
because it comes back later. The song comes back just after they've figured it out.
Oh my God. Does this mean we have to start fighting?
Let's go outside.
And then the Penguin bursts in. Although Bruce Wayne already knew it was going to happen, didn't he?
I think, was it new or was it at least a good suspicion, I think? I don't think it was no. I don't think it could have necessarily 100% predicted, but based on
I think they twigged that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but if you watch carefully, the mayor shoves Selina out the way, I think. Or is it Max? One of them does.
I can't remember.
One of them shoves Selina out the way of the explosion kind of thing. And this time, Max shows that he cares about his son. That he loves his son.
Yeah, it's like, don't take him, take me instead. Yeah.
And it shows he has a human side.
Yeah. That to me was even like the first time, that was a moment of redemption for the character. I was like, okay, he's not completely wrong.
When you realise that he was doing the plough pant thing for Chip, so that Chip had something to live off for the rest of his life, and any kids he had, etc., etc. Yeah.
Rather than teaching him the value of money, making him earn himself.
That's it. I know. But it shows that he might not be a human. He might just be a dad.
In that scenario, that's enough.
It is, I suppose. So you've got that whole Penguin is taking all the firstborn. And that was his idea, which is a parable.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was entirely meant to be, hi, we're Moses.
Yeah, and you've even got the resurrection there of Catwoman,
That's it. It's very biblical, this film.
The whole thing is rather biblical, and I think it was intended to be so.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that, like as I say, particularly the whole Moses or Ramses, I think. Was it Ramses? Who was the pharaoh who killed all the first? Whoever it was. Yeah. So, it is meant to have that parable quite strongly in it. And arguably Herod, I guess, because it's a Christmas film. You could link that in there if you wanted to.
There's the whole Moses basket thing, isn't there? So, yeah.
Right at the start, even, they're sort of floating down the river. Yeah.
It opens up in a biblical way. And kind of ends in a biblical way as well, which is a bit scary.
Yeah.
So the Penguin gets really upset when Batman foils his plans and stops them,
which again felt very
children.
60s.
It did a little, but I mean the whole monkey thing, the monkey bringing the note. There's a couple of things noteworthy.
I know what you're going to say. Also, good pun. Yeah.
No, there's two things. Do you know both of them?
I know at least the one. I'm not sure about the second.
One is the note itself was written in Bob Kane's handwriting.
I do know both things then.
If you know anything about Batman, Bob Kane was one of the creators of Batman. Although the other guy wasn't credited on this film.
No, Bill was fingered. Bill was fingered again in this, yeah.
But the monkey was petrified of the makeup. Danny DeVito's makeup, he wouldn't go near him.
Yeah.
In fact, it
so
attacked him.
long. Yeah.
It attacked him in his crotch.
Luckily, he's that padded in the thing.
He's that padded that it didn't hurt him, but still.
Which just says like how terrifying that costume is to simpler minds.
I mean, bearing in mind this Batman stuff's kind of aimed at kids normally. This film really was dark.
Yeah.
I mean, the combination of food colorings and mouthwash that were coming out of the Penguin's mouth was enough to make you feel a little queasy as a kid. I mean, even now, I'm kind of like,
I don't like it, no. The fish eating scene and towards the end when he's all just drool and blood and everything, it's just, no. Why?
But is that his blood?
I don't know.
You get the feeling it is and that his blood's green. Why is his blood green?
I mean, it's almost like
the toxic sludge.
I don't know if you got this. It's almost like they tried to incorporate bits of Mr. Freeze into the character because it's obsessed with always being cold as well. It's also like adopting some of that. Maybe that's what there was
part of that in the original script. Apparently, there was this whole we're going to bring the temperature of the Earth down or something.
Yeah.
And he does mention it. So there may be elements of Mr. Freeze in there as well, and maybe the intention was to bring him back as Mr. Freeze after he's died because, or something, because he'd have frozen there.
He'd gone into the lake and had frozen, and somehow a Lazarus pit somewhere had leaked out, and
maybe the toxic sludge that Shrek's textile company was pumping out brought him back to life as Mr. Freeze.
An artificial
maybe
Lazarus
that's what
pit.
Burton's Batman 3 was going to be.
Well, we'll never know for sure.
I know, because he got Schumachered. Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, Joel Schumacher, good director for anything but comic book movies.
Yeah. He leans on the ridiculous of it too much.
He does, unfortunately, and it ruined the films. Anyway, less said the better, because I don't think you were going to be doing reviews of Forever or Batman.
I'll do them, but I won't make you do that.
Please don't.
No. I want to do them for a completion's sake, and this is like almost like, look, future plans. But yeah, I want to do them for completion's sake, but I am spacing them out, I think.
Fair enough.
I don't want to do them too soon.
So the Penguin gets really pissy and sends the Penguins off to war.
It's that generation's version of the Austin Powers, sharks with lasers.
Yeah,
preceding that.
He's kidnapped Max. He's got Max with him. I love the bit in the duck where Max sits down and one of the penguins goes, "Ow!" at him like that.
Yeah,
just made me chuckle.
Great little comic moments like that.
Yeah.
Still, even at this.
I mean, just the whole duck thing was comic in itself, but apparently it was in some of the '60s shows. So why not?
There was a thing like it, but this was again Burtonized.
Yes,
it's just that little bit more ridiculous.
It was, and so you've got the duck, you've got Max down in the sewer, you've got Batman and Catwoman getting ready to go off. They've managed to leg it from the party, haven't they? Before it all went to hell, kind of thing, or
which
something.
Which is weird,
like
also,
that.
because no one seems to be after Batman anymore. Everyone seems to have forgotten that bit of him being stitched up. No one cares about it anymore.
Yeah.
That's
I
all
guess
waved away.
It's because it got kind of redeemed when the Penguin was shown to be a fraud.
Yeah.
So I suppose that was supposed to be full redemption at that point. But anyway, the next thing you see is Batman in his Batboat.
Yes.
With his rather specific sonar that changes from beep, beep to, oh, look, there's a duck and a big thing and we can see the layout of a room.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How did you do that? Yeah, never mind.
Again, he's a very clever man. Obviously, he invented it.
Yeah, obviously, yeah. It was a projection thing. It's one of those things from Prometheus. The pups that map out a room. He sent one of them forward. They can travel faster than the Batboat. It scanned the room and sent the image back. There you go. Solved.
There you go. Perfectly.
However, that scene in the sewer whilst the Batboat's coming along, where he's avoiding all the things, that bit where he has to avoid the rockets. If he hadn't avoided the rockets, he'd have hit a pipe sticking out the wall. So it's a good job he did. So the Penguins technically saved him. The 30 or so, the African penguins or something, and then 12 emperors.
Yeah, there were king penguins, I think, emperors. I think there were others somewhere in there. Can't remember.
I think there was only 2 varieties they actually had. And then they had animatronic suits and all sorts.
They had animatronics. They had a bunch of little people in suits. Yeah.
Yeah, and CGI penguins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which were passable in small amounts. The bit where they lined up perfectly just felt wrong to me. It was too perfect.
I kind of agree, but I love the scene where they dive off into the water. When he says, "Fly, my pretties." There was an animal rights issue at the time because they were upset that the live penguins, had rockets strapped to them. But the rockets didn't harm the penguins in any way, and they were treated so well. They had their own trailer that was refrigerated. They had a giant pool. They had fresh ice every day. They had as much fish as they could eat, which was brought fresh in from the docks.
They had bodyguards as well.
They had they had bodyguards. They had the lot. They were treated so well.
The fact of the matter is, some of them actually had babies, and
when they came back,
that's a sign of contentment.
A lot of them had eggs, didn't they? Yeah. Yes, they laid eggs. So yes, which is a sign of content penguins. Yeah, that's not unhappy penguins. They don't breed if they're unhappy.
I mean, all of the animal stuff was very well done. A lot of the explosions and stuff, like there's the dog that carries a grenade.
The dog with the grenade, that dog was nowhere near it.
Yeah, any explosions were kept as far away from animals as possible to not spook them. It was very well monitored, and that's one of the things I really respect for this film. The amount of animals they had, they did their best to make it as comfortable.
They did a very good job. Yeah,
and this was before the AHA was so big and horrible. Now
this was the last
for everything.
This was the last movie made of its kind, technically. It was the last one to use all the old movie-making techniques before CGI became a massive thing. Yeah. So they had to have live animals in there. It was also the first film to be presented in digital Dolby.
Yes.
Dolby Digital.
Yes.
Which is quite a big thing, to be honest.
It's now
and it was the biggest opening week until Jurassic Park came out.
A year later, yeah.
But still,
you're beaten by anything. You're going to be beaten by Spielberg.
Yeah. So we've got all the penguins. We've got Batman heading in his Batboat, and of course the penguin tries to leg it in his duck, and then Batman crashes through everything and smashes into the duck, which you'd have thought would kill the penguin.
Everyone's fine.
And they've turned all the penguins round, and they're all heading back. Yeah. But then they have a conversation. The Batman and the penguin do, and all the penguins turn up, and they're all armed, and the penguin sets off the missiles. And he's like, are you trying to kill yourself? At the same point, the boot of the Batboat opens and all the bats come flying out and knock the penguin down through the window into his pool of which would pretty much almost kill him. Meanwhile, Max Schreck has managed to con the monkey into giving him the keys for the cage and has escaped. Just as he's about to actually get away, Catwoman's whip catches him, drags him through the pool.
Which I was amazed that she didn't draw any blood on that. Like, it was just like a quick slip at the end, I'd have thought.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. Okay. Fair point.
Bloodless moment, apparently.
Yeah. And then there's the big confrontation, isn't there? And he shoots her however many times, and then Batman turns up. And
well, she's already got 3 down, and she's got 1 left at the end, but 2. So I think he only shoots the baby like 4 times.
Something she says, I'll save one for Christmas.
Yeah.
For next Christmas. Yeah. And I think that might have been a nod to something else. I mean, there was supposed to be a Catwoman spin-off with Michelle Pfeiffer, but I don't think she wanted to do it after that because of the costume. I think
as much as she seemed to be enjoying herself, the costume was a big point of...
it was. She never wanted to see one of those costumes again.
Yeah. I mean, she
said it numerous times.
She said it so many times. Like, as much as she, loves the film and stuff like that, it's like, no, I cannot get in this suit again. It will kill me. So I'll accept that.
Yeah. And then you have the big reveal where Max Schreck finds out that Bruce Wayne is actually Batman. However, this is noteworthy, and it's something Nigel and Ronnie spotted.
Okay.
His eyes were blacked up until just before he ripped the mask off, where you see his normal eyes underneath. Because obviously, if you rip the mask off, he'd have just had panda eyes. Which that was a bit
too silly. Yeah,
it was a bit of a continuity thing, but it was done for the right reason, in my opinion.
I mean, these days, I'd just give it in post, like digitally, and then remove it.
Probably, yeah.
Once it's come off. But at the end of the day, I totally forgot that it happened during this film. Like during the most recent rewatch, didn't hit my brain. I knew it was there. I knew it was a thing, but I just didn't think about it. That's the important thing, you know. The moment's still sold.
You've got the rhyme as well. I can't remember what she says.
Oh, like
All kiddies go to heaven.
Well, no, 6, 7 all good girls go to heaven. Yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
Yeah, because those are like the lives that she's counting off. Yeah.
And then she was on to 8 at that point, and she only had 2 left. So
yeah, so she like save one for Christmas, come in for a kiss, anti-clause kind of thing.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, yeah. What happened to Bruce during that moment? Oh, Shrek had shot him, hadn't he?
Yeah. Luckily, obviously, he got the plating in this version, hadn't he? I think of the suit. So
yeah, better. Oh yeah, the modernization. I liked that adjustment to the suit.
Yeah,
I thought it looked really good. So yeah, that was nice. Instead of just
the fact that
muscle toning,
like a cape clip as well. A cape clip. You can see, like,
cape clip.
Yeah, you can see like earlier on in the film, it was adhered with that.
Yeah,
it was a separate kind of piece.
It was very good. I really liked it. The modification, and they heightened the ears a little as well.
Yeah,
and they streamlined the cowl. They also put a zipper in for him so he could go to the loo on his request.
Yes, after the last time, because the last time basically he was having what happened to Michelle Pfeiffer in this one. This suit is awful, and I can't be in it.
So Catwoman supposedly kills herself whilst killing Max Schreck. Batman goes hunting finds Max Schreck, can't find her. In the background, we see the Penguin getting out of the water, all gooey and cut and nasty, and goes to pick up an umbrella, and it turns out to be the baby one with the mobile.
I love that moment. It was just like, what's he got?
And then he collapses face first on the floor, and the Emperor Penguins walk out and magic him into the water somehow.
Yeah, they don't touch him at all.
No, they don't. Powers. He just, psychic powers. But that ramp that he first arrived on is where he disappears.
Yeah.
That's his death ramp.
And if you look closely, you can see the little sled he was sliding down on pop out.
You can actually see the rope in front of him.
Yeah.
You can see the line that's pulling him in. Never mind. And the Penguins were guys in suits for that scene.
Yeah, the little people in suits they had sort of animatronic flippers to move, but that's it. Yeah. I think the heads were animatronically controlled as well, so there's a little bit of motion in those. So it didn't look too rigid. But otherwise, just people just toddling along.
And obviously, the next thing you see is Rolls-Royce driving through the snow.
Yeah.
With Michael Keaton sitting in the back with scratches on his face. And Alfred wishes him Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
And he sees a shadow of Catwoman, gets out the car, finds Miss Kitty.
That's it. Picks her up and goes, right, you're coming with me. Mine now.
Let's face it, what a life that cat's going to have. Giant mansion to run around. Oh, brilliant. It'd never want to go outside. Well, it probably would, but the grounds alone would be enough for that cat.
Well, yeah. And you never know if there might be some nice little woodland wildlife out there for it.
Well, I mean, we know she's alive because the very last shot going up through Gotham, which cost $250,000 to shove in. It was added in a few weeks before the film opened in the cinema.
Yeah.
Literally just to say the Catwoman survived so the spin-off could happen, which never happened.
They just shoved a double in the suit, basically.
Yes, and it is. Yeah, they shoved the body double and they forked out $250,000 just to have her look up at the bat symbol at the end. It's ridiculous, that is.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous expenditure. That
it is, but it works for the film. I really liked it. When I saw it, I was like, okay, fair point. All right, that's fine by me.
I mean, I've put 4 words at the end of my notes. Love the ending shot.
Yeah, I really did.
So, whilst it was kind of we'll try and get more out of this, and like you say, tacked on at the end, it wasn't the initial idea. It works, and I love it.
It works really well, yeah.
So
I love it. I think it looks good as well. It's well put together. Yeah. You can tell that, although I suppose with the lighting and distance and everything else, they got it right, but it doesn't quite look 100% all there at the same time, if you know what I mean. There's a little colour variation in the Catwoman suit.
That you can see, if you will. Yeah. But I guess that's because we both work in like visual media and stuff like that. So we're a bit more
True.
in tune with those kind of issues.
It was a bit like in the first Batman film where they animated him swirling his cape around, walking into a room.
Yeah, it didn't work.
It didn't
very
work,
well.
but as a kid, it was fine.
Yeah.
Now you notice these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's that then, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that is Batman Returns, a journey.
Merry Christmas, folks. Hope you all having a great Christmas. And Batman says the same. Yes. Ho, ho, ho. He's even got little booties.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yes. That's adorable.
I need help.
I've said this for years. Is there anything you want to plug?
Is there anything
you
I want to
disappear?
plug?
Yeah.
Well, there's the herd immunity thing. If you haven't already seen, myself and Paul did the last herd immunity video of Under Pressure by Queen, which is available on the Olive Studios page on YouTube and on Facebook. And it's herd immunity spelt as in herd, H-E-A-R-D.
See, it's pun. So yeah, give that a look, and also have a look around the whole Olive Studios thing. There's a lot of weird and wonderful things on there.
There's more to come as well.
A number of tastes, I'm sure.
Oh yeah,
that's good. Always good. But no, thank you very much for joining me on this weird journey.
Thanks for having me.
Once again, and yeah, I hope everyone's enjoyed it as much as the last one. Did get a lot of positive comments on that, so always thankful. But until next time, as always, thank you for watching. Take care and Merry Christmas.